What's up, YouTube? Today I'm going to show you how to go from this to this. Coming up on today's episode of Top Shelf Tesla with Paulie. Special thanks to Satonic for sending this product out for review. Overall first impression, the box is fantastic. Has a nice magnetic closure on the front. And what I like about Satonic's products is they put a QR code right on the label directing you to not only their website, but to their own install video that you can follow along to, which is great. Their items are serialized as well, and you'll see that on the inside of the packaging. Uh, the boxes match the actual product, which I think is a nice feature. It's one of the only suppliers that I've seen do that. All right, so if we open up the box, everything's nicely packaged in foam. You have a top cover there, and then inside is the display itself, again with that same barcode for the serial number for customer support and warranty issues, as well as the QR code right on top of the product where you can scan that and get the installation video, which I think is, again, a nice feature. There's only one wire harness with this product. It's the only one you're going to use, whether you have a Intel or Atom processor. Either one will use the same thing. I'm going to put that to the side. And you also get a pry bar included as well, which is nice because this one's a little smaller than the ones that I have. So I'll definitely use this one for this install since it's in a pretty hard to reach area. The display itself is wrapped in a plastic, almost like a cellophane type of bag or a foam bag. And you can see the screen itself looks beautiful. There is a screen protector on it, disposable one, and everything you need is right there. All right, before we get into the next part of removing the OEM vent from the housing, I'm just want to go over some tools you're going to need. You'll need a T20 or a Torx 20, a Torx 10-bit. This set here from iFixit is great. I'll leave a link in the description. You'll also need a pair of either alignment tools, diagonal cutters, or metal shears like I have here. You can use a auto pick to get the vent out of the tight spots in the corner if need be. Mine came right out, so I didn't need it, but always good to have it on hand. And then just two pry tools or one pry tool. So here I have, for reference, on the right hand side is a USB-A vent. This will be from a Tesla Model 3 from 2017 to 2019, somewhere around late 2019 before the refresh. You'll see there's two USB-A ports. This originally came from my car. I have a 2019. And then on the left-hand side, you have a USB-C rear console vent assembly, and that is from the post-refresh. And then here is the new display that will be going in. And you can see it looks pretty close to the OEM one. The fit and finish, the color is pretty good. No issues with any type of fit or finish. You have the option of ordering USB-A or USB-C, so make sure you have the correct one on order. And you can see the difference on the back side. On the USB-C, there is a wider 4-pin connector, and on the older style USB-A, it looks more like almost like an Ethernet plug. It is also 4-pin, but it's far smaller. If you end up ordering the wrong one, you won't be able to do the install. So once you remove the vent, there's two T20 screws. You can remove those, set them to the side. You're going to need them when you put the vent assembly into the new display. And to remove the vent, you're simply just going to pry along the edges, and you'll feel the vent assembly come loose once those two screws are removed. It might take a little bit of muscle. Don't pull it too hard if it gets stuck. That's what the auto pick is for. You can get your pick down underneath those two tabs towards the bottom where I'm pointing to. All right, once you get the vent removed, this is one thing that people hate with this display is you will have to cut the top lip off of the vent housing. It will not void your warranty. The vent will go back into the OEM housing without an issue, but you do have to cut it. Please pardon my foot. I broke my toe in the ice, and I have to keep it straight. So, yeah, you can see that barcode again from Satonic. And you're just going to press the vent housing into the display, and you can see it fits perfectly, flush, nothing's popping out. It looks very clean, very OEM. And the reason we have to cut that top tab off is so that it fits where the Satonic logo is. It fits cleanly underneath. You can set that to the side. We're going to put those two T20 screws that we took out back in. And I'm really sorry about my toe in this picture. I'm so sorry, guys. Now you can't unsee it. So we'll get those two screws back in. They should fit flush. There should be no difficulty getting those two screws back in. Once they're back in, just give it another good press, make sure it's set, and we're good to go here. One that's green and black is for the passenger seat connection. I opted not to use that, so I'm not going to install that at this time. And that's this green harness here. I'm going to remove that now. Then I'm going to just do a test run. I'm going to connect the harness from the OBD2 connector that's sticking out into the display, and the power cable is going to go back to where the USB connection is on the bottom. And we're good. We got power. You can see the display started right up as soon as I turned the car back on. And at this point, you can leave the car back on. You don't have to turn it off again. The OBD2 connection is complete. We're not touching the CAN bus anymore. And as you can see, I have a lot of things going on in my car. You will not have anywhere near this amount of wires going on. It'll be just the one if it's just the display that you're installing. I have ambient lighting installed and some lighting tubes and the seat massager. So I have to do a little more diligent wire cleanup, but for you, it'll just be that one wire that you're going to have to put behind that cover. That cover has two T20 screws at the bottom. You're just going to unscrew them and screw them back on. And the rest are all pressure fittings. Put the pressure fittings back in. And then once you have a nice smooth seal, you can go ahead and just make sure those fasteners are seated. And you're going to put the two screws back in at the bottom. And once you screw those two screws back, those two T20 screws, it'll tighten up the panel and everything should sit flush mount the way it did previously. You can see it's nice and tidied up now. And then once you get that middle panel back on, again, you won't have these wires that I have here because I have ambient lighting installed as well. That bottom panel will just snap back in. You don't have to worry about fishing wires around. If it doesn't sit initially, just give it a good whack. It's okay, nothing's gonna break. It's just pressure fitting clamps and it'll pop right back in place. And then at the top, you should just have your main wire harness sticking out. And if you opted to do the passenger seat, that will be out as well. And then you can go ahead and make your final connections. You're gonna connect the wire harness that's coming up from the OBD2 connector to the display, to the wire that's coming out of the display, and then you're going to plug back the OEM USB power cable into the USB port on the card that we transferred, the USB card that we transferred from the original housing, and that will give you your charging back, and your display should be powered up. And we'll give it a check, and everything looks good. You can go ahead and just make sure your display, all the wires are tucked nicely around, leave the air vent open, and just push it back in place, and you're good to go. Alright guys, so quick feature overview. This is the main display. You have your power button here, that'll just turn off the display. Tap it again, comes back on. And then you have your lock. This will be to lock out any unauthorized touching. Good for the kids. I kind of wish it had a pass lock or something, but this is just on and off with that tap. So this is your front display. You have your audio controls, so you can see as I change the song here, focusing on that. Just keep it cycling through. Okay, I can play, I can pause, and then the volume up and down. It works pretty well. And then in the rear you have your climate controls. Okay, this is your temperature, up and down, up and down, and that's basically it. The fan speed here, as you raise it, it goes higher. Raise it all the way up, and you can hear it going pretty loud now. Back down. Now if I go to the rear section, okay, you have your rear fan power, so that will turn on and off your rear vents here. Close all. This is for your heated seats. So your heated seats are all activated by touching, and there's 3 levels of bacon, as you can see, just like the app. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And if I turn them all on and I feel like I don't want them on anymore, I hit this close all button, and that will shut those all off at the same time. On the right here, this display does have the ability to control the passenger seat. You can move it forward and back. I opted not to install that feature because my daughter sits here, and my 2 7- and 8-year-olds would probably crush her with the seat. So rather than that happen, I'd rather not. So there is an option to remove the separate harness from the main display, and so that feature is not currently activated, but it's just a simple 1-wire connection to the seat that I opted not to do. So that's pretty much the entire featured functions of this display. To get into the options here, you hold down the rear, and that will get you into here. There you can change in the menu the Fahrenheit or Celsius, left or right side drive, the language, and then the time zone. I'm in New Jersey, so it's Greenwich Mean Time -5 since we are in daylight savings. And then you have the current software version of the UI and the display as well. And if you hit the back arrow here, that will get you back out. The last thing I'll show you is the when the screen times out, it does go to an analog clock, which is kind of nice. We'll just wait for it to close out. It takes about 15 to 20 seconds. Okay, so you have an analog clock, or if you swipe, you have a dark analog clock, or you have the digital clock, which currently is only available in military time. You cannot change that to AM and PM at this point. So you go back to here, and that's it. Great feature set, really convenient, especially with little ones in the back, constantly asking to turn the air up or down. Now we're going to move on to my final thoughts on this product. It is beautifully integrated. There's no seams, no bleeding light, nothing. Everything looks great. The one thing that I really like is the fact that it uses the OEM Tesla USB interface. And if you have a 2019 or earlier, and you have a USB-A interface, this is a fast way to kind of switch over to the USB-C and get some fast charging in the back. I did that previously to this install, but all it is a little adapter cable that you can get on AliExpress, and I'll link one of those in the description. Other pros, the display is very snappy. You can tell that it is almost instantaneous. The volume, the track selection, the fan speed. Almost got Beastie Boys on you there. The build quality is great. I'm very happy with the way that the screen looks. You can see it's very bright. This is fantastic. If you have an Uber or Lyft business and you are constantly having passengers in your back seat, this is a game changer, because this eliminates the need for any intervention from your rear passengers for temperature control, music selection, and you could lock it out if you wanted to. And again, I love the fact that the passenger seat controls are integrated, but they're optional. They're not mandatory. That cable is able to be separated from the harness, so that if you choose not to install it like I did, there's no harm, no foul with that. That's great. So some cons, and the cons are going to be UI related. The one thing that I'm really not thrilled about with this display is that for some reason, and I'm hoping that it's software related and can be fixed at a later date, but when I change the temperature on this display, and I'm tapping it now, you can see, I'll try and see if I can get both of them in at the same time. All right, so we're at 74 here, and on my display it's at 70. On this side we're at 68, and on that side 70. So the temperature is changing. One side is cool, one side is warm. The problem is that it's not reflecting on the main UI, which to me is a problem, because I like to know what the temperature is at, and if the kids are messing around with it, I'll see it on the front and I can lock them out. So that's a pretty big con for me. The other big con is on the heated seats in the rear. If I turn them all on in the rear display, again, the same issue. It's not reflected on the main UI. It shows them as off. So if my little ones put the heated seats on, and obviously they're not going to get burned, they don't get to that heating degree, but I'd like to know that they're using them, and they're not playing games around here in the back. So that's another thing that I really hope that they can fix later on in a software update, so that the changes are being reflected on both screens. I'm hoping it's software related, since the volume up and down and the track control are all synchronized. It might just be something that has to be addressed in the next firmware update. The other issue I have is with the standby clock. That is only displaying in military time or 24-hour time. So if I swipe over here, I exited out of it. Let's wait till it comes back on. The analog clock is fine, but the digital clock will only display military time, and that to me it's kind of annoying more than anything, especially with the kids in the back. They don't know military time, and they'll ask me like, what's 2034 mean, Dad? And I'll have to explain to them that it's 8:24. And sometimes even I have to remember military time. I have to do the computations. So just to show you, and there it is, and there's no way to change that. And again, that's a UI thing, so I'm hoping that eventually that will be updated in the future. Overall, I definitely recommend this display if you have passengers in your car and you're willing to download some updates to this and get it fully functional. This is a great addition. It's minimal, just like Tesla intended the rest of this car to be. It is beautiful as far as integration. It's as seamless as you could ask for. It adds a nice overall look to the rear. It kind of pieces together what's almost like a missing element. And for me, the biggest thing is having the rear passengers being able to control the temperature and the music and everything else, especially if you do rideshare or anything like that. This is definitely a great feature. So check out Satonic. I'm going to leave a link below. That link also gives you a pretty hefty discount. Right now, last I checked, you could get this item shipped for $140 to your door in the continental US. Just please note that at this time, Satonic is only accepting PayPal for payments. They are not accepting credit card payments other than through PayPal. So bear that in mind when you're checking out If you don't have PayPal, you may have to create a PayPal account so that you can utilize their service. They have advised me that they are going to be implementing credit card checkout in the near future, but for now it's PayPal only. And I ordered this the first week of December, and I got it in less than 2 weeks. So the shipping turnaround is pretty quick from China. And yeah, any questions, hit me up on the bottom there. Comment, like, subscribe. I'm hoping to make more content in the future with more accessories on the way. And have a happy new year to everybody. Take care.